So I'm here at Trex University with Shawn, our composite guy. Shawn, when you're looking at railing, it can be daunting trying to figure out what rail to put on your deck. Can you give me explanation of what's the best rail, or is it just aesthetics, or usually let your spouse pick this one, or what considerations are we thinking when we're thinking about what's the best rail for our project?
There's a couple different things. One, obviously, is always going to be your budget. The other is the aesthetics of what's it going to look like. We spend so much time trying to figure out we need this perfect color for our deck, but really what we see more than our decking is our rail. We're always looking out. You're not looking down at your feet all the time. So having a good rail is very important and something you're really going to appreciate down the line.
Okay, so if I'm thinking budget, am I thinking, a hog style fence? Kind of thing, or where does that put me in the budget?
The hog style is a very unique line, and it is something that's taken a lot of popularity, but it's not inexpensive. They did make a panel that you can put with regular wood, so it is a line that is available regardless of what other materials you're using.
Yeah, so if somebody's on a budget, they can have a composite deck, pressure treated rail, hog wire, fence panels in there.
Yep.
And these are coated; they're not going to rust on you. So
definitely powder coated and ready to go. That is a new line this year. They just added that to be available to all rail lines and not have to use the rest of their system. It is something that is unique on their line now this year. And
then we have a Trex enhanced steel railing sets. If I'm a homeowner thinking about ordering this, how difficult is this to pop out of the box and put together? Do I really need a contractor for this segment, or can I, suffer through this?
This is actually a very easy system to install. And again, it's another new line. They've added the steel line, which is a great price point on their product line. Very easy to install. It comes, you order the post and you order your rail panels. They come 6 and 8 foot long, and you just cut them to fit. You set your post evenly spaced across your deck, and then you just cut the rail panels to fit. The one thing to remember when you're cutting these panels, though, is you don't want to. If you need a 4 foot panel, you don't just cut 2 foot off of one end. You cut 1 foot off of each end so that your ballast or spacing stays even throughout your line.
So find the center of the panel and then measure to each post, and then I'll have my center baluster centered, and I'll have the same gap on each end.
On each end of your post, which is really important.
That's something that would set it apart from a contractor installing it versus maybe a homeowner screw up, right? Is contractor screwed it up once already, right? Like he knows to find your center point, cut off each end. Don't try to just get away with one cut. We want to find the center.
Find the center point and cut both sides. Real easy to install the brackets. They have a little tool that'll help you line up your brackets to install. A couple screws, a couple clamps to cover up your bracket, and you're done. It's very simple.
So this is steel. It's been powder coated. This is before we step into aluminum consideration or a composite rail, or so this is above like a hog wire fence kind of budget. We jump into a steel. What do we jump after this?
From here, you're going to jump. Probably pretty similar price points is their T-rail, their select T-rail. You can see in their T-rail, you can see the brackets, where here we have them hidden. Here we're seeing their brackets. They are going to show. You can hear it is a little bit more hollow. It's a little different. I call this a builder rail, something you might see on new construction homes. It does fall in a really nice price point. It is very clean, very nice, good finish, good warranty. It's a nice product.
Okay, so it meets all the codes for somebody leaning up against it, or some partying against your deck rail. But eventually, if I want to have something a little bit higher end, where am I going from here?
From here, we're going to step right up into their Trex Select in their classic line or their signature aluminum line. These next two lines. This is going to give you the more classic look of a handrail that we might have had when we were kids. Standard 2x2s.
I don't have the screws in the brackets, so I'm going more of a cleaner look where I don't have to see screw heads. Look a little bit more custom look.
A little more custom, a little more solid. We're not hearing it as
yeah,
hollow.
That does. You can hear the kick to tire test. Yeah, a little bounce there, and this is beefy, right?
A little solid.
Yeah.
And you can bring in the round aluminum balusters if you're looking for a different look, add some colors. The other thing you can do within their lines is you can actually mix colors. You could have your post be black and your infills be white. You could do just your balusters in metal or 2x2s in black. They really give you a lot of selection and choices of how you can put this rail together.
All right. So in your expert opinion, is that something you check with the wife before you mix colors, or?
I think all of us can agree if mama ain't happy, ain't nobody happy. So
right?
You better check and make sure your colors are right
I stay out of the color selection. We argue over blue and black in our household, So yeah, if you're going to mix colors, make sure you get a permission slip before you click the button on AdvantageLumber.com. We do returns. We don't like to do them. We'll make it happen, but please make sure you get a permission slip first. So for stepping up from the Trex Transcend line, is this the way we're going here? We're getting from budget friendly to, I just want it to look awesome. Is that the direction we're going here on these lines?
What we're also seeing is kind of the trend of the industry moving into something a little thinner, a little cleaner. At one point, rails were meant to be big and chunky, and you really saw them, and they're solid. Now we're leaning towards still being very solid and very secure and going with the aluminum or the steel rail, but we're also seeing things slim down so you see through the rail, and it's not.
Yeah, I guess the $1 million
feature.
view with inflation is really now a $5 million view, right? Like $1 million, you're looking at your neighbor. So $5 million view, we're go Trex signature aluminum railing, so we can take advantage of seeing that view there. And this is powder coated aluminum. And they have a warranty on this as well, so we don't have to worry about the paint flaking off real quick kind of thing.
Exactly, we do. The thing that they've now added, they've actually taken it one step further and gone into. We're seeing the mesh rail, we're seeing the rod rail, we're seeing cable, and we're seeing frameless glass this year. And so now we're moving into even a more clean look. You can see they've added in their cable rail and their frameless glass. They've added some extra detail to their posts, give it that strength.
Yeah, so that's interesting. If we're going to glass rails, that's something we buy the Trex post and components, and we call our glass guy for the glass panel. Where do we get the glass panel from?
It sounds like it'd be really hard to do, but it's actually pretty simple. You do just call your local glass company. You're going to get a tempered glass made and have them even deliver it to you, and it slides right into place. It actually
and we want to make sure it's tempered so that if don't be cheap on the glass. If it breaks, we want it to shatter into 1,000 little pieces. We don't want big plate glass coming down on somebody.
That's a great point.
So it's tempered. And if it is tempered, there'll be a little stamp in the bottom corner. You'll see a tempered stamp. That's mandatory in anything that's tempered. And you're going to look really hard to see it, but that does certify that it's a tempered piece of glass.
And the one thing on tempered glass, it's very strong in the middle, but you want to be careful on your edges. Be careful as you're installing it on the corners and on the edges. It does break very easy on those edges. So you're okay in the middle. It's very strong, no problem. But this edge is a little tougher. So be careful as you slide that in.
So it's like a porcelain tile. You can beat the face of it, but if you hit the corners, that's a fragile component. If you're really concerned about that on the top rail, you have kids bouncing stuff around the house, they make a nice aluminum cap that goes on top of that. But if you're looking to take advantage of that $5 million view, and you have responsible adults that don't get too out of control, throwing beer bottles around, then we can get rid of that top rail and just have that clear view there. So stainless steel cable rail. We could make a whole segment for hours on stainless steel cable and all the options in the industry there. But tell me what Trex has going on in the stainless steel. Are you a fan of the system, or tell me the basics on this one?
They've done a really nice job in limiting the number of attachments you need. You can make long runs, starting at the start of your house, make 2 turns before you have to have any of the turnbuckles to tighten anything. So they've really eliminated the number of fittings and parts you need, so it's helped bring down the cost.
So Shawn, with the Trex signature rail system, how far can we span the cable rail?
The cable rail can go in 6, 12, and 18-foot sections.
Okay, so if you go over a certain length, you need some intermediary post?
If we get past 4 foot in between 2 posts, we do need the rail separator to help keep that 4-inch gap in between all your sections.
Right, because if you get too far there, you could spread that cable apart. A kid could get stuck in there. So we want to maintain close to 4 inches. So we put the intermediary post in there that maintains the cable tension.
Exactly.
Okay. So every system will have a maximum run of cable and how many turns you can make. So this is something I hear you getting involved with the different jobs and our sales reps of, if you're confused as a contractor or homeowner how to lay out the cable, how far you can go. I know you spend a lot of your time on that. So somebody gives you a paper napkin drawing and you help them go from there, or how do we start with the customer on that one?
We can do it as simple as a paper napkin. We just need the basic information. We need to know where your deck starts and where it finishes, where the stairs are, any corners, anything you've got going on. Just a basic drawing of the deck and all the measurements. And we don't need the measurements down to an inch. These systems are built to work on 6 and 8 feet sections. So as long as you get us, if it's 7'2", go ahead and tell me it's 8 foot. You're going to get an 8-footer anyway. So it's okay if you're not exact on your measurements.
And how about time for installing different railings? If I'm pressed for time, I want to go, what would you think out of this selection would be from Trex on railing would be the quickest one to install?
You know, the quickest rails are going to be your steel or aluminum systems because they come pre-built, pre-assembled panels, and you're just cutting them to fit. Installing 2-post, cutting the rail to fit, sliding it in place.
Okay, so if I got a special project, or I don't care how long it takes me, I just want it to look Mac Daddy awesome, what would probably be the best looking, but it's going to be more time intensive?
You know, probably, I think one of their two rails that are most time consuming are the cable rail and their rod rail, but they're both gorgeous rails. The rod rail takes a little more time, but you can see it, everything almost seems to float in the middle of it. And I've always really liked that look. And I think I maybe like it just because it's a little different than other rails that are out there. It's not the standard rail that you're seeing everywhere, but it's one of my favorites.
And are you cutting these rails, or they're, you know, these center components, are they coming cut already, or how does that actually work?
It's very similar as the other rail system. Your top and bottom you're going to cut to width, and then your middle pieces you're going to cut these separately so that you keep the same distance.
Yeah, because most areas in the country, we have a code rule for a 4-inch spear can't fit through there, so mimicking an infant's head. So you want to make sure the area on the side and the area in between there is also up to code, and that's the 4-inch spear rule, right?
The one thing I see a lot of people try to do with this rail system, the other rail systems we can cut into 2 sections and be able to use them. We can buy an 8-footer and get 2 4-footers out of it. This rail, you're not able to do that because of these 2 horizontal pieces. If we cut this in half, all of a sudden you don't have 2 sections of rail. You're in trouble. Okay. So this one you do have to order. Each rail section needs its own piece.
Okay, so if I sketch up, my deck is 12 foot, 20 foot, a set of stairs, you know, 2 foot back to the house. I think I know what I need. I put down a little list of what I think I want. I send it into advantagedlumber.com. You go through with the team and help, you know, make sure I'm right, or how does that work?
That's exactly what we do. You send it into our sales team, they take a look, and then they typically send it over to me and let me take a look at it as well. And we're just going to take a look at your drawing and make sure that you've got the number of posts that you need, the number of sections that'll fit. How are you dealing with going down your stairs? When you're going down your stairs, the angle isn't a true 45, so your bottom stair post needs to be taller than your top pail post. So we want to make sure you've got the right posts, you've got the right fixtures, you've got everything you need to make that system go in really well.
So what's the biggest mistake that you see when people install, you know, one of the Trex, you know, railings?
The biggest mistake is making the cut. We talked about a little bit earlier, cutting one side of the rail and not cutting both ends.
Okay, not keeping the same distance on both sides, right?
Not ordering the right posts going down your stairs, making sure that you've got the taller post because you're not a 45-degree angle coming down your rail. So getting that taller post in your stairs. Those are the 2 main things that get missed the most often.